Hello, my name is Shelly Rahim. Thank you for coming to my YouTube channel today. We will be making Kitchori. And Kitchori is an Ayurvedic gentle rice and lentil dish that is commonly used when someone is maybe recovering from an illness, has a very weak digestion, or maybe somebody has recently been fasting and they want to break their fast with something very soothing and very gentle. Also for postpartum mothers, that's what I'm all about. So this is something that my mother-in-law fed me when I had my babies, because she knew that my digestion after giving birth is very weakened. And this is something that builds that digestive strength. It has protein, it's easy to digest, it's very warm and unctuous and very nourishing. So it's a perfect food for a postpartum mom. I would say if her digestion is doing well after about 3 or 4 days giving birth. So on about third or fourth day after she gives birth, I check in with her digestion. If she's not gassy and constipated or has heartburn, if her digestion seems pretty good, then I think she can probably eat Kitchori. And what Kitchori is it is basmati rice. It is moong dal. Moong dal is a split lentil. So it's related to the bean family. It's very easy to digest and it has a lot of protein. The Kitchori also has, in the recipe my mother-in-law taught me, has onions that are cooked down for a very, very long time, almost caramelized. It has a little bit of cinnamon. The cinnamon is helpful for circulation, for blood flow, for the joints. It has cloves, which also helps for digestion. It has peppercorn. Peppercorn is really also good for the digestive fire. It has cumin. Cumin is also good for digestion. Cumin also can help the mom with lactation. It has ginger. Ginger is also really good for digestion. And it has garlic. And in Ayurveda in India, women will eat a lot of garlic to help with lactation. And then we have cilantro that we can sprinkle on top in the end for a little cooling effect, and it's just a nice little touch. And all of the spices and the onions are cooked in ghee. And ghee is clarified butter. So it's the most dense, fatty butter. And if you were to take a stick of butter and actually melt it down for a long, long time, the water quality, there's still some water in butter, will rise up to the top. And then the heavy fats will stay melted. So when we scrape out all the water, what you get is clarified butter, which is ghee, which is the highest fat content. And I put about a half a cup of ghee in this recipe because a breastfeeding mother, or even if she's not breastfeeding, a new mom still needs a lot of good, healthy fat in order for her tissues to regenerate and to heal. So lots of ghee is good. So the very first thing that you want to do is prepare the lentils and the rice. And the way to prepare that is to wash it and ideally soak it. If you soak the rice and the lentils together overnight, or even just for a couple hours, it hydrates and it makes it easier to digest for the mother. And it also brings more hydration for the mother. But if you don't have time to soak the rice and the dal, you can absolutely just cook it without soaking it. It's fine. But the first thing is to wash the rice. So you take the rice and you pour it in the bowl with the lentils, and then you fill the bowl with water, and you will see when you fill the bowl with water that the water is very cloudy. So this is just residue, it's starch, it's things that we don't really need to consume. So just rinse it in the water and pour it out, and keep rinsing in the water and pour it out 3 or 4 times until the water is relatively clear. It doesn't need to be perfectly clear, but you should be able to see the rice and dal. So here we have our rinsed and soaked rice and dal. This has been soaking for about 3 hours. So you can see it's expanded. It's pretty clear, and we will use this to cook with. So now we have the rice and the dal and the water in the pot ready to cook. Yet this doesn't have enough water. We want the rice and dal to be really mushy for the mom, so it's so easy to digest. And how much water you use we don't really have to measure. The more water, the more hydration and the mushier it'll be. So different consistencies with different amounts of water. The less water you have, then the more it'll be like regular rice. So you can see this has, when I measure with my finger, it has about to 1 knuckle of water over the rice and dal. And that will be kind of like regular rice. We want it to be more mushy. So we're gonna add more water until now I've got about 2 knuckles worth. So I would say I'm gonna add 1 more cup of water. So now we have a little bit more than 1. So the water's about that high over the rice and dal. And that'll make a nice mushy rice. As the mother's digestion strengthens, so as she begins to heal after the birth, you can add less water. So it's ideal to make it very, very moist, unctuous, and mushy in the early days after giving birth. But week by week, you can start adding a little less water and making it more like a regular rice dish. But starting out, I'm making this nice and moist. And we just put it on high, and once it starts to boil, then we'll turn it down to simmer and put the lid on it and let it simmer for a good 30-40 minutes. So once the rice and the dal are cooking nicely, then we can start the onions, and we're gonna put half a cup of ghee in the pan to melt. And we'll add the onions. So it's just 1 onion. I like to thinly slice my onions, but you can chop them. Now this onion, it looks like a lot of onion right now, but we're gonna cook it really slowly over a low flame or low heat for a long time. You really don't have to do much to it. You just give it a little stir every now and then, and it's gonna cook down to be maybe only about a half a cup of onions by the time we're done. So we get the onions in the pan, and right now you can just throw in all your spices right now, except for I would wait on the garlic and the ginger. But we can put in, throw in our cinnamon stick. We'll throw in 3 cloves. We'll toss in about a teaspoon or a teaspoon and a half of peppercorn. And we can even add about a teaspoon or teaspoon and a half of cumin. That's an optional one, cumin. And just give it a stir. We're just gonna let this cook down and give it a stir. And when it's about halfway cooked, we'll add the garlic, and then after that, we'll add the ginger. So now you can see the onions are cooked down quite a bit. Took about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And now I'm gonna add the garlic, just 2 cloves of garlic chopped. This is always optional with Kitchori. You can omit any of these spices to your liking, and it will be just as nutritious. So after we've cooked the garlic in the onions for about 5 or 10 minutes, then we can add the ginger. This is just that fresh chopped ginger, about an inch or so, a piece of ginger, and just let that cook for a few minutes. And now you can see that the ginger's been cooking for a few minutes. The onions are nice and caramelized. So this looks like a good time to add it to the kitchori, the rice and dal. So you can see that it's absorbed, the water is absorbed now, but when I stir it, it's got a nice mushy texture to it. I can now add the onions and spices and ghee to the rice. Stir that around. The very last thing to add to this is salt. So I like Celtic sea salt, but Himalayan sea salt, even table salt, whatever you prefer. This has extra minerals in it, so I like to add that. And about a teaspoon, or 1 to 2 teaspoons of salt. Stir that around. And the kitchori is ready. You can see it makes quite a bit. 1 cup of rice and 3/4 cups of dal makes quite a bit of kitchori, and then it can be nice to sprinkle it with some cilantro. So there you have it. This is Pakistani Indian kitchori. Very traditional recipe and a very basic recipe that is very nutritious for a postpartum mother. It provides protein, it's warm, it's very healing, it's very easy to digest, and it has all the Ayurvedic spices in it to help her absorb the nutrients. And it also has the ghee that helps her tissues to regenerate, it helps her milk production, and it's very comforting food.